Strippers! No, not that kind. Paint stripper, one of the most valuable tools to anyone upcycling or restoring furniture. Now, my reason for doing this video is I genuinely want to know what is the best paint stripper on the market in the UK today. Is it worth shelling out lots more money per litre for the really expensive paint strippers, or is the cheap stuff just as good? I often see a lot of US-based furniture restorers and upcyclers using magical paint stripper that they just lightly spray on a piece of furniture and the paint just melts off. But it usually turns out that the paint strippers they use contain chemicals that are banned in the UK and EU. In the UK, methylene chloride was the go-to ingredient for any effective paint stripper until it was banned in 2011 for everything besides industrial use. While I'm not calling for it to be legalised, it has left us with a wide range of paint strippers using different chemicals, and some are definitely better than others. When I started researching paint strippers, it became apparent that there's a number of different formulations for paint strippers, but many of them are the exact same mixture under different brand names. For instance, if you go to any hardware or DIY store, the cheapest paint strippers will likely be a combination of benzyl alcohol and formic acid. In fact, Wickes, TX10, Diall and Paint Predator are all made by the same manufacturer and even have the same bottle. So to keep this video under 20 hours long, I'm testing each formulation once, and in the description below I will list other commercially available paint strippers that have the same formulation. Now for the testing. I created some test samples to really challenge every paint stripper. First there was a thick layer of polyurethane varnish, then a layer of shellac-based primer, a layer of water-based primer, and topped off with a thick layer of oil-based black gloss paint. Every paint stripper has slightly different instructions. Some ask for reapplication after 15, 20 or 30 minutes. Some recommend covering the formulation in cling film or foil. No matter what paint stripper you use, reapplication and covering in cling film or foil will increase how effective they are. So to keep the comparison fair, I just applied every paint stripper once on a paint sample. The times did vary slightly, so most liquid strippers were left for between 30 minutes to an hour, and all 4 aerosol strippers were left for 15 minutes. I didn't leave them all on for the same amount of time, as some chemicals can be more damaging to the wood underneath. You'll hear me mention VOC a lot in this video, and VOC means volatile organic compounds. A volatile organic compound, or VOC for short, is an organic chemical that can evaporate and remains in the atmosphere. And while these materials float in the atmosphere, the VOCs react with the sunlight and can contribute to smog in cities. So it's really, really bad for the air quality and really bad for the environment. Exposure to VOCs may also have long-term chronic health effects. These can be all sorts of things, like things that affect your lungs. They can irritate your eyes, your nose, give you headaches, loss of coordination, nausea, even organ damage. So for both environmental reasons and health reasons, it's probably good to stick to low VOCs. The paint strippers I'll be testing today are a combination of high VOCs, low VOCs, and even a paint stripper without any VOCs whatsoever. Just because something is low VOC doesn't mean there aren't health or environmental risks, but it is usually a good indicator that the chemicals are less harmful. I still wouldn't recommend using them as a salad dressing though. No matter the paint stripper, I always recommend using it outside or in a well-ventilated area. I also recommend wearing gloves, safety goggles, and preferably with a filtered face mask. Some of these paint strippers are also harmful to the skin, so wearing long sleeve tops and full trousers would be a good idea. Whilst I do recommend using safety precautions for any paint stripper that you use, anything with a high VOC you need to take particular care around using. While some of these paint strippers are considered environmentally friendly, I wouldn't recommend putting them down the sink. Always dispose of them in accordance with what they say on the bottle. There are some chemicals that are VOC exempt because they don't contribute to the ozone or ozone depletion, but that doesn't mean they're good chemicals to be breathing in. Now all of that has been explained, it's time to put these paint strippers to the test. At the end, I'll summarise which paint strippers I think did the best job. Starting off with B&Q's Diall, this is the benzyl alcohol and formic acid combination I spoke about earlier. This formulation is low VOC and usually the cheapest paint stripper you can buy at about £10 per litre. They have relatively fewer health and environment warnings and are often referred to as eco-friendly paint strippers, but you should still take precautions and never tip any kind of paint stripper down the sink. Paint Predator's fast action formulation is being tested separately as it has a much higher level of benzyl alcohol and formic acid. Despite this, it's still another low VOC option at a similar price point. This one was left for only 30 minutes. Next up is Eco Solutions Home Strip, and is another eco-friendly paint stripper and brags that it is VOC free. This is a triethyl phosphate paint stripper, and Polyvine also do a stripper with the same formulation. This is a little more expensive but still an affordable option. Polycell's paint stripper is a thicker consistency and needs a spatula or scraper to apply it. It's a very high VOC stripper, and that is obvious by the awful smell that comes with it. This stripper is a moderate price at about £20 a litre. Liberon is another high VOC stripper with a similar price point to Polycell. This was only left on for 30 minutes and the smell isn't quite as awful. Osmo are known for their wood treatments and oils, but it turns out they do a paint stripper. This is low VOC, but is at a higher end for price, at about £30 per litre. The tub is also really hard to open and it gets incredibly messy. Nitromors was the go-to paint stripper before methylene chloride was banned, and it still has its signature green colour. Unfortunately, this does actually stain the wood and needs scrubbing with white spirit afterwards. It's also very high VOC with a stench to match. It's also heading towards the higher price point for paint stripper at about £25 per litre. Nitromors Craftsman is clear and very liquid. This is designed for use on fine furniture and intricate detail. It has a similar price point to its Hulk-coloured brother and also has very high VOC. It dries quickly and turns the paint into a really messy dust. Joining the very high VOC club is Paint Panther. It's a much better gel formulation and at a much more moderate price point at £19 per litre. Colron is another very high VOC option, but is only left on for 30 minutes. It's pushing the top end of the price range at between £25 to £30 per litre. Strypit is a more moderately priced paint stripper at £22 per litre and it's also low VOC. Blackfriars is the last of the liquid formulations and it is actually exempt from VOC classification. That doesn't mean it's a good idea to shower in it or dump it in your local river though. Rust-oleum's green paint stripper is made from the same formulation. Both Blackfriars and Rust-oleum do come in at the higher end however, at between £25 to £30 per litre. OB1 is the first of 4 aerosol paint strippers. Rust-oleum's green aerosol stripper and Plastikote's spray stripper have the same formulation, so if you like this one, just buy whichever is the cheapest option for you. I was unable to find VOC information for any of the aerosol strippers, But as they are aerosol, I would strongly recommend good ventilation when using these, as well as a good filtered face mask. All of these aerosol strippers were left for 15 minutes, and they all have a fairly similar price point at between £20 to £25 per litre. Aerosol strippers are often found in hardware stores, but you can also find them in stores like Health Foods or any store that sells car paint and car care accessories. Peel Tech is another option, and this is often used for graffiti removal, but it can also be used for removing paint off wood and furniture. Hycote, much like the other aerosol strippers, is a gel formula, so it clings really well to vertical surfaces. It's often used to clean car parts, but it can be used safely on wood. Jenolite, much like the Hycote, this is often used on car parts, but can also be used on wood and brick. I don't recommend using any of the aerosol strippers on plastics, however. So in my opinion, the 5 best paint strippers that I've tested are the 3 final aerosol paint strippers. So that's the Hycote, the Peel Tech and the Jenolite. They all did really well, really easy application, a little bit messy, and also not the cheapest option, but they do work really quickly and quite effectively. The Osmo paint stripper, despite being also quite messy, performed really well. Unfortunately, it is one of the most expensive paint strippers that I've tested, but it is low VOC. And what I think is the best paint stripper, which is also one of the cheapest, it's low VOC and it's really easy to apply, is the Paint Predator Fast Action Paint Stripper. I'm genuinely quite surprised that the 2 best performing liquid paint strippers are both low VOC, so they have less harmful chemicals in them, which is really great news. If you would like me to try out any other paint strippers or different methods for using them, let me know in the comments. Links to all of the paint strippers mentioned are in the description below. I really hope this video was helpful. I'll see you next time.